Sheriff John Winnett, I'd like to thank you for being here for this press conference. I know everybody's anxious and wanting to hear what we have to say, so we're not going to delay this too long. We want to thank you for being here, part of the Sheriff's Department. I'd like for each one of these gentlemen to identify themselves so you'll know who they are. We'll start over here with the coroner.
I'm Dwayne Guppy, coroner of Effingham County.
I'm Brian Kibler, State's Attorney of Effingham County, and as promised, there are probable cause statements that we'll distribute at this point in time. I do apologize, some of the areas are duplicitous, and there are some added run-ons here and there, but this was just our cheat sheet that we are going to go with from our office this morning, but instead of having to rehash all the facts here at this press conference, we thought we would just hand out the probable cause statement. But again, sorry for some of the typographical errors, but that's essentially what was recited in open court before Judge Tungate this morning, which outlines the facts and evidence that the state believes it can present as of today's date.
I'll be back there.
I am Lieutenant Corey Riskvet. I am the interim District 12 commander.
I'm Master Sergeant Ryan Shoemaker with the Illinois State Police Zone 7 General Criminal Investigations Unit.
Sergeant Albert Gallatin, Zone 7 Investigations, Illinois State Police.
Thank you, gentlemen. You know, I was thinking today is 9/11. And to think that we are gathered here, and I did not imagine that I would ever be standing before you on 9/11, not talking about an event that took place 12 years ago, but a sad event that's taken place in Effingham County. There are so many people involved in this, and I want to thank so many of you, and I may miss some of those that have helped out and have been a part of this, and I apologize if I do miss some of you who is in a part of the search for the 7-year-old Willow Long. It's amazing to think of the people who has gotten together in a short period of time. The first people I'd like to thank is the news media for your fast response of getting to our location and being able to put out into the news world the events that was taking place in Watson, Illinois. I thank you for your patience, because there was many times that we could not get you information because we did not have information. And we appreciate your patience with us during that time. So we want to thank the news media for your coverage and for being there. There's so many people you think about that's involved in this. We started out as a search for Willow on Sunday afternoon. And as time went on, we went from a search to a homicide. And in 36 hours that we had a closure of this investigation. And I think that's amazing in that all of us have worked together to accomplish what we have accomplished today. I want to thank our investigators with my Sheriff's Department and the patrol people, my TCs and the city TCs for their help in the radios and their constant vigilance of making sure that we are where we need to be and watching over us in that time. I want to thank the Illinois State Police, working with our investigators, and you guys did a super job. Can't say enough. My hats are off to the Illinois State Police. All of the county agencies. I could not believe how many county agencies, volunteers, police officers from local and some from far away city police departments. We want to thank all of those who participated in that beginning of that search. And in our mind, that's what we were looking for, to find Willow, and that was our desire. We'd like to thank all of the aircraft that was involved. The Illinois State Police fixed-wing aircraft that was here, Air Evac, Arch, who flew many hours searching for Willow. We want to thank them. We want to thank the citizens. I've never seen so many come out, over 300 and 400 that wanted to get involved. You know, when we get a small child involved, it makes my heart go out to see the community. 9/11, 12 years ago, we saw the United States get together and work together. What I saw in Effingham County was us getting together and working together, all of the agencies, all of the fire departments, all of the EMS, the school buses that was provided by Unit 40 to take those who were out searching and looking, for all of those that sacrificed of the heat and was willing to go back out time and time again. The last thing I'd like for us to do is remember the family in our prayers and our thoughts. Thank you.
I'm Brian Kibler, the State's Attorney of Effingham County, and this is a very sad day for each and every one of us. Maybe one of the most heartbreaking events to ever happen in this county's history. So it's with much sadness that we're here today. But as to what's going on legally, as you know, Illinois just recently adopted cameras in the courtroom, but our circuit has yet to adopt the rules, and we have not been approved by the Supreme Court to have cameras in our courtroom. So I think I need to start my presentation by first indicating what has occurred here today. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, Mr. DeRyke was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder on the death of Willow Long. A lengthy probable cause statement was presented by the state. I have provided a copy to each and every one of you. If we ran out of copies, my office will make further copies. It sets out the facts, the relevant facts that the state believes it can prove today. These are the facts that have supported at least the continued detention in the Effingham County Jail on the defendant. Further, at this court hearing, where most of you were present, bond was set by Judge Sherry Tungate in the amount of $5 million. The factual basis, or the probable cause statement which I handed out, was kind of the running dialogue or theme that our office has. And it came to us that maybe it would just be simpler to just make quick copies and give you all the facts that we presented to Judge Tungate this afternoon, just provide you with those facts. So about 20 minutes before the court hearing, we just essentially made copies for each and every one of you of the running dialogue and narrative that the state has so far put together. Now, I need to clarify that this is still an ongoing investigation. I know Mr. Shoemaker, Mr. Gallatin, and pretty much everybody in Zone 7 investigations of the Illinois State Police are still working this case tirelessly. There's still a lot of loose ends that need to be tied up. They're still interviewing more individuals. They're still collecting more evidence. On some level, I mean, these events have moved fast. Willow was reported missing just Sunday. Her body was found less than 48 hours ago. An arrest was made just 36 hours ago, and the autopsy was just completed less than 24 hours ago. So there are a lot more details that will come out. However, we can confidently state that there's no one else who's a person of interest and that the community is safe. There's no one else responsible, according to what the state police have told me, that law enforcement believes is to be responsible for Willow's death. So there should be no concern in the community regarding future harm. I will say that the cooperation amongst the different law enforcement agencies has been quite remarkable. The ability of all these groups to work together to make an arrest in such a quick fashion has been extraordinary. So my hat's off to the Illinois State Police and the Sheriff's Department. They did an unbelievable job of putting this together. However, there's still a lot of work to be done. Now, as I get back to the probable cause statements, I'm also required by law to tell you that the defendant is presumed innocent of each and every charge against him. It is up to the state to prove the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant has this presumption of innocence throughout all the proceedings that are against him. However, with that said, my office feels that there's enough evidence to charge him with these offenses at this time. So these 3 counts of first-degree murder were filed. The next court date, I believe, will be the 18th. The 18th, where the defendant has indicated he wishes to hire his own counsel. It is anticipated that next Wednesday, which is also the 18th, my office will present this matter to the grand jury to see if they will hand up indictments in this case. Procedurally, that is where we're at. Maybe a year from now, cameras will be allowed back in, or will be allowed in our courtrooms, but for now they're not. So that is the current legal situation as it stands. Before I close with my prepared remarks, I want to echo the sheriff's sentiment as to all the help of all the volunteers that came out and helped. I will note that one of the most interesting things that I think I've heard from the different law enforcement agencies as it relates to this case is that essentially without the help of all the volunteers, the sheriff said hundreds, but I would venture, my estimate was probably close to 2,000 people came out and helped. Without the help of all these volunteers, it's very unlikely that we would be here today with an arrest having been made. The antidote I like using is the sheriff, based off of what they knew and the different procedures, had set up a grid approximately 3 miles in any direction of where Willow was at. It was about an 18 square mile grid. So many people turned out Monday afternoon to help in this search that they had to turn people away. And I know a lot of people were sad that they were turned away. However, Willow's body was found by a group of searchers turned away. They'd come all the way up from Marion County up 37, and they were told, we don't have any more help. We don't have any more resources to assist. And they said, okay. But on their way home, they decided, well, we'll just give this a look. So on their way home back to Marion County, south of Watson on 37, they got out of their car to look because they cared. They wanted to be a part of it, and let's just see what we found.
That's awesome.
And at that point in time is when they found a suspicious plastic-looking item in a submerged body of water. And from there, we were able to determine that we had Willow's remains. Without essentially everyone showing up to help, it's very doubtful that Willow's body would have been found in a timely fashion to allow us to proceed with criminal charges against the defendant. With that said, I don't think anyone else wishes to speak. I don't believe the captain does. But again, I want to thank all the hard work done by law enforcement. I know there are several investigators with the state police that worked well over 40 straight hours. It was quite a remarkable team job that they put together. With that said, we'll defer to questions. I'm Greg.
Just for clarification, Brian, if I heard it correctly in court, the grand jury is on the 18th, but the next court appearance is the 19th.
Is the 19th. I do apologize. I knew we had dates. We flipped them back. So his next court appearance will be the 19th. The grand jury will meet the 18th. And if a grand jury indictment is handed up, his arraignment could be the 19th, next Thursday, if he does hire an attorney. Yes, sir.
I'm from Channel 2 in St. Louis. I noticed the defendant said that Willow ran out and fell in the pile and she got stabbed like this, and he wanted to apparently put her out of her misery. However, when the coroners, there was no mention of a wound by a branch. Was there a wound by a branch, or are we sure that she died of the knife and not a branch?
those are calling for kind of some speculative responses. What the probable cause at, or hearing and statement is, are the facts as we know them. When the defendant said that Willow ran out of the house and fell into a pile of brush, that is the defendant's statement. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true, it doesn't mean it's false. We just know that's what the defendant said happened. And then, as it relates to what the coroner said, the preliminary report done by the forensic team, that is their preliminary indication is the fact is that they think it was homicide by knife. Those are just facts, so they're not ultimate conclusions. We can't here today make the ultimate conclusions. Those are made by a jury. All I'm saying is everything outlined is what the facts are. The fact there is the defendant said this, and then the other fact is the coroner said this. We are drawing no conclusions. These are just merely the evidence as the state believes it can present as of today's date. As I said, it's an ongoing investigation. More work will be done, and we will have maybe more facts later. But as of today's date, what we have on that sheet are the facts, the relevant facts that we know that the state feels it can prove. We still have to prove it, but we're not adding any facts that we're not sure about. We're not adding any facts that we don't think are relevant. We're not adding any facts that are kind of speculative and iffy at this time. These are the facts as we understand them today. Yeah.
As far as the knife, do you have that in custody? Have you done any analysis? Is that underway? The knife used in the murder?
We are not going to comment on that at this situation. As I said, the facts are what we know today. We're still investigating, trying to figure things out, but if we're not going to determine or discuss facts that are outside this statement. We're just going to simply stick on the facts that we think
In
are.
other words, the defendant said that he used a knife to stab her.
The defendant said that he used a knife, and then I believe the probable cause statement indicated that the autopsy report indicates that the child was stabbed. Yes, Greg.
I understand you said that there aren't any other suspects. Is there still a possibility, I think there was yesterday, is there still a possibility that additional charges might be filed as a result of the continuing investigation?
It is always possible that additional charges could be filed on the defendant. We're still at the initial stage of this process. We're less than 5 days from the disappearance, less than 2 days from an arrest. I know they're still working hard. They're still calling the office every day, needing things or telling us new things. So it's possible in the future. But today's events were about the fact that the state police believed it had enough information to charge the defendant with first-degree murder. My office reviewed it. We filed formal charges based off essentially the facts that we know as of today that we feel we can prove, and they are outlined in the probable cause statement.
We know the media is imperfect. It started out that the story that was reported over and over was the mother said, I woke up, I got breakfast, I went back to bed. Now the story is, I woke up and she was gone. Is it worth, the probable cause statement says she woke up and Willow was gone, and that's when it happened. But the media have been reporting that she woke up, went back to bed, and if that's the case.
Well, that might just be more of a semantical argument of what the words in the probable cause statement mean. The point being, at some time that morning, Willow was no longer there.
If she saw her in the morning and fed her, and then went back to bed, it's already dead.
Again, these are the facts as we know them today. We're not speculating on anything. These are the facts the state's attorney's office believes it can present. What you have is what we think we can present. We're offering no other facts at this time. We're not speculating on anything. What is before you are the facts as we know them.
I guess it could have been some confusion on our piece.
I'm not gonna say anyone was to blame, and I don't know. I wasn't involved in the initial investigations. All I know is this is what my office believes it can prove today. Yes, ma'am.
During an investigation, isn't it against the law to lie to law enforcement agents?
I'm making no conclusions as to what, well, I can say that. You cannot lie to law enforcement, however, you can't lie to law enforcement, that is correct.
Right.
But what is a lie sometimes is not always easy to distinguish, as they would say. I mean, if you truly believe what you said, then it's technically not an offense. You have to knowingly, but I'm not making it.
The story's been changed so many different times that people are contradicting themselves. And
Well, I don't know much, I don't know about that, I don't know what you're referring to specifically. I do know that in a situation like this, there's so many rumors that run rampant in a small community that you can't control them. But I'm not here about rumors, and that's part of the reason that it's very rare that the state ever will just hand over its probable cause narrative or statement to law enforcement. And the reason we did that was to dispel as many rumors as we could. Maybe there's some other things out there we're not aware of, but what is in there are the facts as we know them, facts we know we can prove. We don't care about rumors or what other people's versions were. These are what the state and the state police and the sheriff's department believe are true, or believe most likely, we believe we can prove to be true.
So do you believe the mother misled you in the morning at the beginning of the investigation?
Because the initial information from her, according to what we were told by authorities, is that she saw her on Sunday morning.
Who is this question referred to, first of all?
The mother. Do you believe that she
Well, no,
misled
the
you?
question, to me,
Law enforcement or yourself?
I was not involved in any initial investigation. My
Sure.
part comes afterwards, and they bring me their case when they have it.
When she was initially interviewed Sunday morning, you believe that she misled you as to whereabouts of Willow that morning?
You have to realize that morning, the main important thing was to find Willow. That we wanted to make sure that she walked out of that residence, and that's what we were looking for. That time, we had no idea that it was going to turn into a homicide, so I'm not looking at a criminal aspect of it. All I want to know is, where's your daughter? That was our top priority. That's what all of the people were searching for, because that was the information we give, that she walked away from that residence, and that was our goal. Yes.
I have another question for the sheriff. We were talking with you on Monday, and
It seems like we talked many times.
yes, I know you
yes.
just can't get rid of us.
Okay.
But Willow's mother, I believe she had told you that Willow was watching The Princess and the Frog, and we talked about how maybe she thought it was an adventure, maybe to leave. But when did she then recant that story and say that when she woke up, Willow was missing?
You said she recanted that story.
Yeah, well, I mean, now she's saying, now we're hearing at
See,
least.
I haven't talked to her. When I talked to her was the day that we were looking for Willow, so I never did hear the recant.
Okay,
that
but
that story has changed. I have not heard that.
But the story that you had at least initially heard was that, they were watching a movie and she laid down for a little bit.
And the reason we ask those kind of questions is so I can figure out what the mind of that child is, what was they thinking, what maybe they might go to water, might go in that direction that would give us a direction that we might be able to search and look in that area, yes.
Right. When did you determine then that that would have been false? That Willow wasn't watching the movie that morning if she was killed Saturday night?
I just took what was said to me and what was taken there, but, I've never heard any other statement than other than what she told me that.
Thanks.
Yes.
So the question is, Mr. Kibler, do you anticipate filing charges against Willow's mother? I think that's what we all want to know. Do you anticipate filing charges against Willow's mother?
That is something we're not going to address or speculate to at this time. Today's court appearance was about the fact that law enforcement has put together a case where there is evidence to indicate that the current defendant, committed the offense of first-degree murder on Willow Long. That is the focus of why we're here today. The facts before you are on that. My office, that's where the focus has been. Where was Willow and what happened to Willow? As it relates to these other things, we have no comment. There's nothing to address at this time. Like I said, this is still an ongoing investigation. We're trying to get as many facts as we can. the number of assets used, both by state police, the county, even the Effingham City Police Department, were numerous. Numerous people have been investigating this. Everyone's still trying to get all the final stories put together. So we're not going to address that question as a speculative.
We understand that you can't address that question. Do you understand why we asked that question?
I understand why you would ask. I understand you're doing your job, and our job is we're not going to answer any speculative things because we don't know. We don't have the full story.
Can you do me, all our viewers can't be here to see this. Can you recount after you walked out of the bathroom basically what happened? Because we couldn't have cameras in the court. I don't mean to read it, but just kind of tell the viewers what your probable cause is so that we have it on tape and we can share that with the viewers. Basically what happened when the suspect walked out of the bathroom.
Well, that's actually not the bathroom. That is the holding area. There's a jail. We're in the jail.
In the house the night she was. What happened in the probable cause statement? When the suspect walked after he went to the bathroom, he came out, and what happened? What happened then, so that we have it on tape?
I do not want to.
Was Willow's mother there today?
I do not. I mean, I don't. Who's that addressed to?
She was not.
I just wondered, I've never seen her, so I didn't know.
She wasn't. I wasn't over there.
You know, like,
Well,
at E, you know, starting at E, I don't mean you to read it, but just kind of give us the rundown. So
I'm not gonna summarize anything. That's why we put them out in facts like that.
Can you?
I do not feel comfortable doing that because the one thing of these press conferences is you cannot inflame the community. And I think that would be kind of getting to the line of what would be with the infliction. I mean, you could have people interpret your inflections different way. That's why we wrote them down. You can relay that to your viewers, to your readers, to your listeners. So I am not going to read them. I think this is the appropriate way of doing it. You can get your message out as evidence out as to what the evidence states. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Meeker.
Regarding the four searchers who found what turned out to be the body, could you have maybe John help this on a little more better description? It's south of Watson. Is it right near the exit from the interstate, or are we accurate to say what river bottoms?
Maybe the sheriff.
I mean, we don't necessarily have to GPS it, but I mean, you know.
Sheriff, you can describe probably the location where the body was found a lot better than I could.
Without getting that
Well,
specific, I understand that.
You try to describe some of this to somebody who's never been around Mason or Edgewood or Watson. It's
I
kind
know
of
the old
like,
Trestle Bridge, and I know all that, you know, that. And
well, you're there.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. If you can find the trestle,
Yeah,
then
the
it's
old
right
trestle.
by the river. It's part of the river. What we call a slough, which is when the river goes up, the water seems to sift into that area. When the river goes back down, it holds what we call pooling of the water. It's very difficult to see that area because it's grown up in trees so much. So even the aerial photo, you know, we were looking for water. It was hard to determine if the water was there because the trees has overgrown that area so much. Now in the wintertime, you drive through there and all the leaves are off of there. You can see very plainly that there is a low area right there by the railroad tracks, right there on 37.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I guess those people, yes, ma'am.
How did you make the connection between the body and Justin? Did he come to you guys, or did you guys go back to him and ask him? How was that connection made?
We're not going to comment on that. There's no comment at this time regarding that.
To any of the investigators, were you able to determine what kind of relationship Justin and Willow had? Obviously, they shared a home. Was it a contentious relationship? Were they close?
The investigators want me to talk on behalf. That's the reason part of it is their standard protocol to let the state talk on it. Again, that's another speculative issue. Again, all that we're able to do is put out what the facts as we know them, facts that we believe we can prove. That's asking for a speculative answer. And due to the fact that this is just the preliminary part of months-long criminal process, it would be inappropriate to make such a statement.
Does he have a previous criminal history of any kind?
None that I am aware of. Yeah, none that I am aware of. Yes, ma'am.
This question's for the sheriff. Could you talk a little bit about your search directly in the yard and in the house when Willow first went missing?
You were talking about searching the,
Yeah, I mean, you guys searched so far around the house. How thoroughly did you search the home and the yard where she lived?
we have to realize that our mindset at that moment and that time was, yeah, we went into the house, they let us do that. We're looking for a child. Our mindset is we're looking for a 7-year-old girl who is wandering around, and so our sight and our mind and our investigation is not investigating anything other than finding a live child. And that's what we were basing all of that. So, you know, when you go in one moment, you're looking for a child, and now the next moment you're trying to go in and find evidence. So it's two different, two-sided swords. So we were looking for a child. That's what.
I guess you, and then I'll get to you, and then
Question for the sheriff regarding that search. Were dogs used to search around the house?
Yes, they
And
were.
some might ask why they didn't pick up on the scent of the blood in the front yard.
The dogs did pick up on a scent. And the dogs, but we don't know, is it the right scent, the wrong scent, what scent that is. But we ran 2 different dogs because we wanted to make sure those dogs went north from that residence to the first road, which I believe was Main Street. And at that point, it seemed like the dogs lost the scent of that. You know, was it the right scent, the wrong scent? Was the wind carrying the scent? I don't know that. But yes, dogs were used in that.
Was there any evidence of blood found in the yard?
Speak up.
Was there any evidence of blood found in the yard?
Nothing, and you know, we weren't looking for that, you know. We didn't see anything, so there was nothing to speculate that she had got hurt. We know that she left the residence.
I think you had a
Well, it was about the dogs because I was down there helping and I heard the dogs lost the scent at me. But to me, if there was a blood out there and that stick went in her neck, there'd be blood out there. And why wouldn't the dog pick that scent up?
I'm not a dog handler, I
know,
can't
but
tell you
I'm
that.
just saying it, you know, the blood scent.
Yeah. I can't answer that question, I'm not a
Maybe we
dog
needed a
expert.
bloodhound down there.
I guess she in the back. Had a question.
Yeah, I just have one more question. I mean, I know you guys, the autopsy was performed at 11 a.m. around that time on Monday, but it looked like the arrest was made much earlier than that. At what part of the investigation did it become a homicide, not a missing person? Did you suspect anything before the body was found? Because all the information we have is there was no idea that it could have been anything more than she wandered away from the home.
We're not going to comment on that. We're not going to give you an answer at this time. Sorry. Yes.
Don't mean to belabor it, but in general, if someone lies to police and misleads the investigation, is that an arrestable offense?
We're starting to get kind of speculative here. Like I said, today's issue is the initial court appearance for Mr. DeRyke for first-degree murder. I think you're speculating and asking for speculative answers on other things that you could be considered crimes that you think could be considered crimes. We're not here. The state has no evidence at this time. The state's attorney's office has no evidence at that time of anything. So I'm not going to speculate or say anything as to that because all that we've got is the evidence as it relates to the murder of Willow. Yes, Mr. Sapp.
Specific to those charges that were filed,
Yes, sir.
can you explain a little bit about why 3 different counts are filed?
That is the typical way we've done it in Illinois law. Is there are different the murder statute essentially is. My statute booklet back there is so thick. There are 3 different ways to commit first-degree murder. It all depends on whether there was intent, whether you should have known. So really, the charge of murder is pled in the alternative 3 different ways. So it has to do more with the complexities of the law. In that there are 3 ways you commit first-degree murder. You just allege all 3 ways, so that way you can at least. Not confuse the jury with the complicated and sometimes convoluted jury instruction questions. You, Mr. Meeker. 3. They had 3 hands up, so 3 more questions.
It was mentioned in the, about the fact that the defendant had went an hour early to the workplace and didn't seem interested in being involved in the search. Was that discovered later while the search was going on? Did it become part of suspicions leading to the defendant? Or did you mention it in probable cause?
We're not going to discuss the order with which events
Okay.
and evidence was discovered. That's not, I don't think that's proper in today's hearing. But the probable cause statement that was made in court went kind of more chronological so that the court could follow why we felt that Mr. DeRyke needed to be detained. It doesn't necessarily mean that statement, well, we found this piece of evidence first, that piece later. It's just a chronological statement of events based off the evidence we can prove today. So we're not going to get into what we found, when we found it, where we found it, how, and then, because it's just not relevant at this point in time. Two more, you, ma'am, and then you, and then we'll conclude.
I was just going to say, Sheriff, did you guys see that pile of sticks at the home? And if so, where was it, like in relation to the house?
I was not there when they went around and looked around that residence at that time, so. You're talking about the pile of sticks that was around?
The pile of sticks that she tripped into. We're just trying to think where around the house that was, if you or your investigator saw it, or, where it was.
The pile of sticks is pretty close to the residence, I think, we always pick up the sticks and throw them in a pile, I think that's,
Okay.
I
so
can't
that was
tell you how
in the-
far.
Okay, but in front of the...
Last question back there, yeah.
For you, Mr. Kibler, did the autopsy include a rape kit or any other tests, forensic tests that might detect any sort of sexual assault or sexual abuse?
Our forensic guy who comes up from Evansville, and I think Wayne could help me with the name, Dr. Heidingsfelter from Evansville. He's very good at what he does, and he does thorough examinations. The state is very confident in him, and that's all I'm going to say regarding the examination that was done yesterday of the body.
So he came out to do those kinds of standard tests?
He does it standard by, well, I wasn't there, but I'm assuming since he's highly respected that he would have done his job, and that's all we're going to say at this point in time. With that, we thank you on this difficult day. Thank you for attending.